At my husband Logan's will reading, his mother Isabella smirked and said, "Everything belongs to me." The lawyer just smiled and replied, "Actually, he left you a special message." Her smirk vanished when she read, "I never thought my life would turn into something out of a courtroom drama, but here we are. Logan and I were married for 10 years. We built a happy life together, filled with love, laughter, and a cozy home we worked hard for. But the one dark spot in our life was his mother, Isabella. From the moment I met her, she made it clear she didn't like me. She always accused me of being after Logan's money, even though we both worked hard. The truth was, she just wanted to control him." Isabella was a controlling, cruel woman who treated Logan like a child who needed her approval for everything. He spent years trying to earn her love, but she only showed kindness when he obeyed her. Marrying me felt like betrayal to her. Despite everything, Logan still loved his mother and kept trying to make her happy. I never stood in their way, but I was always the one comforting him when her words hurt him. 6 months ago, Logan died after battling a long illness. We had time to prepare and talk about everything, including his will. He knew his mother would come after me, so he made sure to handle things properly. During the will reading, I sat in the lawyer's office, still heartbroken. Isabella sat across from me, dressed in fancy black clothes, acting like she was the grieving widow. She had barely spoken to me since Logan's death, except to insult me at the funeral, saying I'd be homeless soon. She truly believed that everything was hers. The lawyer started reading Logan's will. "To my beloved wife, I leave our home, our savings, and all my personal belongings." Isabella's smirk faded, but she kept acting smug, thinking the real money and investments were hers. Then the lawyer continued, "To my mother, Isabella, I leave." He paused and picked up a separate letter. "A personal message." Isabella looked confused. "What?" The lawyer handed her the letter. She grabbed it, furious. As she read, her face turned red, and her hand shook. She slammed the paper down and yelled, "This is a joke." I asked, "What does it say?" The lawyer handed me a copy of the letter. I read Logan's words, feeling both sad and proud. "Mother, if you are reading this, you're probably expecting to take everything from my wife. But understand this, you never controlled me, and you won't control her. You spent my whole life trying to make me feel like I wasn't good enough. But I found peace knowing I built a life with someone who truly loved me, not for money, but for me. You never gave me that love, and because of that, I owe you nothing. Everything I have goes to my wife, the woman who stood by me when you never did." The room went silent. Isabella's hand shook as she pushed the letter away. "This is insane," she shouted. "He was sick. He didn't mean this." The lawyer calmly replied, "He was of sound mind when he wrote this, as he wished. You've been left with nothing." Isabella turned her rage at me. "You poisoned him against me. You made him hate me." I looked her in the eye and said, "No, Isabella, you did that all by yourself." She shot up from her chair, nearly knocking it over. "This isn't over. I'll take you to court. That house, that money, it's all mine." The lawyer, completely unfazed, said, "You're welcome to try, but Logan made sure his will is ironclad. You'd only waste your time and money." Isabella glared at both of us before storming out of the office, slamming the door. I sat there, taking a deep breath. Logan had stood up to her in the end. Even after his death, he protected me, but something told me this wasn't the last I'd hear from Isabella. I was right. Things were about to get even worse. Isabella stormed out of the lawyer's office that day, but I knew she wasn't finished. She wasn't the type to accept losing. All her life, she got her way through bullying, lies, and cruelty, and now, losing to me, a woman she always thought was beneath her, was something she couldn't accept. I barely made it home when the phone started ringing over and over. When I finally picked up, Isabella didn't bother with small talk. "You think you've won, don't you?" Her voice was full of anger, not sadness. I stayed quiet. She laughed bitterly. "You have no idea who you're dealing with. That house, that money, it should have been mine. You were nothing before you married my son, and you'll be nothing again soon." I swallowed hard, trying to keep my voice steady. "Logan made his choice. You need to accept it." She scoffed. "We'll see about that." Then she hung up. I tried telling myself she was just angry and trying to scare me, but the way she said it made me feel sick. The first attack. A couple of weeks went by. It was quiet, too quiet. Then one morning, I woke up to an eviction notice stuck to my front door. My heart dropped. The notice claimed that the house, our house, wasn't legally mine. It said the house somehow still belonged to Isabella, but that didn't make sense. The lawyer had promised me the will was solid. Logan made sure I was protected. I called the lawyer right away. He was calm but serious. "She's trying to fight the will," he said. "She's claiming your marriage was fake, that you took advantage of Logan when he was sick. She's saying the house should go to his closest blood relative." I felt sick. "She can't actually do this, right?" "She can try," he replied, "but she doesn't have a real case. She's just throwing out lies, but that doesn't mean it won't be a battle." And it was. Isabella dragged me to court, making wild accusations about how I tricked Logan, how I took advantage of him when he was sick, and how I kept him away from his loving family. It was a nightmare. She lied and put on a fake show of being a heartbroken, caring mother who was shut out of her son's life. I sat there, my fists clenched so hard my nails left marks in my skin. I wanted to scream and tell everyone the truth, that Isabella never cared about Logan, only about controlling him, but I kept quiet and let my lawyer do his job. In the end, the judge saw through her lies. The case was thrown out. I thought it was over. It wasn't. The escalation. A few days later, I came home late one evening to find my front door slightly open, my stomach twisted with fear. I knew I had locked it when I left. I pushed the door open slowly, my hands shaking. The house was dark and way too quiet. When I stepped inside, my heart was pounding so hard I could barely breathe. And then I saw it. My living room was destroyed, furniture was flipped over, pictures were smashed, and papers were thrown everywhere. Someone had been there. I backed out of the house, my fingers trembling as I called 911. The police came quickly. They searched the house, but whoever did this was already gone. Nothing was stolen, just destroyed. It wasn't a robbery. It was a warning. I knew who was behind this. The police couldn't do much since there were no signs of forced entry. "Do you have any idea who did this?" they asked. I stared at them, my hands still shaking. Yes, but I had no proof. And Isabella wasn't done. The breaking point. The next few weeks were a nightmare. Strange cars parked outside my house at weird hours. My trash cans were knocked over at night. Dead flowers were left on my doorstep. I barely slept. It felt like I was being hunted. One evening, I heard a knock at my door. I checked the peephole. It was Isabella. I almost didn't open it, but I was tired of being scared. I opened the door. She smiled, but it was a cold, mocking smile. "Enjoying the house?" she asked. I didn't answer. Her smile grew. "I'm not going to stop. You think you've won, but this isn't over. You took my son from me, and I'm going to take everything from you." Something snapped in me. I was done living in fear. I stepped forward and met her gaze. "Listen, Isabella, you already lost. Logan saw what you truly were. No matter what you do, you will never win. This house? It's mine. My life? It's mine. And you have nothing. You did this to yourself." For a moment, I saw fear in her eyes, but then she sneered. "We'll see about that." She turned and walked away. I knew it wasn't over, and I was right. The ultimate betrayal. I barely slept that night. Isabella's words echoed in my mind. The next morning, my phone rang. It was my lawyer. "We have a problem," he said. "What now?" I asked, my voice trembling. "Isabella filed a new lawsuit. She's claiming Logan had a secret will, one that leaves everything to her." I almost dropped the phone. "A secret will? That's crazy." "I know," he said, "but she filed paperwork. And worse, she has a witness." My stomach twisted. "Who?" He hesitated. "Logan's best friend." David's betrayal. David had been Logan's best friend for years. He was the best man at our wedding. I trusted him. And now, he was helping Isabella. I called him right away. He answered, sounding too calm. "Hey. Tell me this isn't true," I said, my voice shaking. "Tell me you're not helping her." He sighed. "Look, I didn't want to get involved, but Isabella said Logan changed his mind before he died. She said he didn't want you to have everything." "That's a lie, and you know it," I said. "She has a document," he replied, "and I saw Logan sign it." I felt like I'd been punched. "You're lying. Or she's paying you to lie." He went quiet. That silence told me everything. "How much?" I whispered. "How much is she paying you to betray your best friend?" He didn't answer. I hung up. A dead man's secret. I went straight to my lawyer's office. He was already looking at the supposed new will. "This is fake," he said. "Logan was careful. He wouldn't make another will without telling me." "So how do we prove it?" I asked. "The signatures aren't a perfect match. It's close, but not the same. We'll need a handwriting expert. He looked at me, but there's something else. He opened a file on his computer. Before Logan passed away, he made a video. He wanted to make sure no one could twist his words. My breath caught. A video? He nodded. He asked me to keep it safe. I think now is the time to use it. He clicked play. There was Logan, looking right at the camera. Logan's final words. He looked tired and thin, but his voice was steady. If you're watching this, it means my mother is trying to take what isn't hers. Tears filled my eyes. Logan spoke clearly. Isabella, if you're in a courtroom trying to lie your way into my money, know this, I expected you to do this. Isabella's fake will was worthless. David's lies were useless. Logan had outsmarted them even after he was gone, but his next words changed everything. Logan looked straight at the camera. Isabella, I know about the money. I froze. My lawyer looked shocked. Wait, what? Logan continued, his voice sharp. I know you stole from me, from my father, and from the company. My heart pounded. What was happening? Then Logan said something chilling. I know you paid David off years ago. I felt sick. Logan had known all along that his mother and his best friend had been working together, even before he died. He held up papers. I found the accounts, the secret transfers, the missing money. You thought I wouldn't notice, but I did. Logan had been collecting evidence. Then he smirked. That's why I set a trap. The video ended. My lawyer let out a low whistle. Well, that changes everything. I was shaking. What does he mean by a trap? He stood up. Let's find out. We went through Logan's files and found the truth: bank transfers, fake companies, stolen money. Isabella had been stealing for years, and David had helped her cover it up. I felt rage building up. What do we do now? My lawyer grinned. We don't just fight back, we destroy them. The next day, we pressed charges for fraud, theft, and conspiracy. Isabella and David were about to face a legal nightmare. Isabella showed up at my house one last time, pale and desperate. Call off your lawyer, let's make a deal. I looked her in the eyes. No. For once, she realized she had truly lost. Isabella thought she could win by lying, bullying, and scheming like she always had, but Logan had outsmarted her. Even after his death, he was in control. The evidence was solid: bank fraud, money laundering, stolen inheritance, and wire transfers, all traced back to her. David was just as guilty for helping her hide it. My lawyer handed everything over to the authorities, and then we waited as their world crumbled. It started with the IRS freezing her accounts, then, the police raided her house. The news spread quickly, authorities investigating financial crimes linked to the Caldwell estate. Isabella was arrested. She looked terrified as they led her away in handcuffs. David tried to run. He was caught at the airport with a one-way ticket to Mexico and $50,000 in cash. The police got him before he could escape. In court, the evidence was undeniable: the fake will, the stolen money, the bribes, everything was laid out for the judge and jury. Logan had left another video, this one for the court. It was longer, with even more proof. Isabella looked horrified as it played. Her own son had destroyed her case. The judge didn't hold back. Isabella got 15 years in prison. David got 10 years for helping her. Isabella tried to reach out to me from prison. She sent me a letter that said, "You think you won, but you're nothing without Logan. You took him from me. I'll never forgive you." I stared at the letter, then sent it back, unopened. Isabella lost everything: her money, her house, her fake reputation, all gone. I sold the house she fought so hard to take from me and used the money to start a new life. I healed and moved on. Logan won, and that was the best revenge of all.